Yeah, hi. Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the Digital Accounting and Assurance Board of ICI, Dr. Ankur Khairwal, Secretary of the Board, extends a very warm welcome to all the participants joining us today for this important webinar on cybersecurity assurance through DISA practices. In an era where cyber risks evolve faster than ever, the role of chartered accountants, especially those trained under DISA, have become central to strengthening digital trust, ensuring control effectiveness, and enabling resilient business environments. We are delighted to share that we have more than 1,000 registrations for today's webinar. Your participation reflects a strong commitment of our profession of staying future ready and technologically empowered. Today's session is extremely relevant across industries as cyber threats continue to increase in frequency and impact. The structured approach to taught under DISA equips professionals to analyze systems, evaluate risk, and provide assurance using global aligned practices. We gratefully acknowledge the presence of our Honorable Chairman C. Dhanava Sharma whose direction continues to strengthen ICAI's initiatives in digital assurance and cybersecurity capacity building. We are also pleased to welcome C. Arpit Kabraji, the Vice Chairman of DAP. His leadership in emerging technologies, digital assurance, and forensic initiatives have been instrumental in shaping training programs and frameworks that enhance the professional role in cybersecurity governance. A warm welcome to both of you, sir. It is our privilege to welcome today's eminent speaker, Dr. Vinay Kumar Saini, sir, a highly respected expert in blockchain, cybersecurity, and information systems audit. His deep understanding of DISA methodologies and their practical application will be extremely valuable for our members. We are grateful to have him with us today. Before we move into the technical session, may I request our chairman, sir, to share a few words of guidance and address the gathering. Sir, we would also be grateful if you could share DAB's upcoming initiatives in the field of cybersecurity, DPDP, DISA 4.0, and DFI. So over to you, sir, for your address, please.
Now let our vice chairman be the speaker.
Sure, sir, sure. So
His
I'll request,
vibrations will
yeah.
continue long.
Tarpit, sir, I'll request to share your remarks, guide us with your thoughts, please, sir.
All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome into yet another exciting session by the Digital Accounting Assurance Board. Friends, at the DAB, there is action 24/7, 365, and rightly so. Anything and everything that is happening in this country today has something to do with no more audits, no more assurance, but digital assurance. Friends, if you would have read and if you are updated, the CNAG has come out with a very stark report talking about, and let me quote them. Imagine an India where every transaction carries its own truth, every ledger tells its own story, and audits no longer chase missing files but read a living, breathing blockchain of accountability. Now, this one statement has set in motion what we at DAB have already identified and launched almost in the month of September, the function called as DXFS, the digital transformation of a chartered accountant. Friends, today is an extraordinary moment for all of us for two reasons. One, of course, we are now engaging largely with our biggest asset and the most relevant asset in today's time, are DISA professionals. This webinar, of course, it's open for everyone, but here today we have a speaker, Mr. Saini Saab, who's been with us for a long time and who has actually seen the entire evolution of auditors to maybe digital assurance keepers to maybe blockchain accountants to forensic accountants. But today, in this entire stream, in entire space, one person who's become very relevant is a DISA qualified chartered accountant. Unfortunately, none of us or few of us have claimed pride of being a DISA qualified. My chairman, Daniel Sharma, will talk about this in much more details because he's seen, and therefore we've come out with two new products, a new brand, a new identity will set all of us equivalent to almost, or not even equivalent, better place than most of the other professionals who are now involved in system audits. Friends, uh, Imagine a situation where you are now invited not to audit for vouchers, for expenses, and all of this, but more importantly, what is in front of you on exception reporting, what will you identify and give an assurance on? You need assurance to raise funds, you need assurance for behavioral approach, you need assurance for whether I will stand the test of time and deliver what is required, and you will give assurance on whether my systems that have been implemented are integrated well and there is no lack or loss of information. Coupled with this, there is DPDP Act now, and of course, DAB, your and mine, one of the most, as I said, action-packed committee of the ICI is not behind. We are soon coming out with a provision on with all the implementation of DPDP Act to CA offices, be it a data fiduciary or be it a data principal. How can we actually take an opportunity in this? Now, coming to the most important part, the second, the DXFS. Now, what we've launched in DXFS is today you will see most of the people are now funding based on behavior, not based on what documents that you provide. Most of these people are now actually looking up for, if you were to put money in a startup, you will look at the promoters, you look at what is their intention, you look at what is their approach. You will not look at what is their biodata, what is their ITR, what is their income tax, credit history, and all of this. Exactly the same is happening across the country. But you know what? It's a bold experiment. AI, automation, it's driving almost every other organization to shift, and this is actually from auditing to real time integrity assurance. And friends, I'm telling you, the days are numbered now that we are just mere auditors. And for income tax computation, most of the products are now commoditized. But what we want to do now is that is the use of a DISA professional. Every stakeholder today wants, can a chartered accountant stand up and deliver on system audit securities? Of course, we can. Of course, we've got a hands-on training in the DISA. It's just the time that just like we implemented GST, we implemented income tax, we implemented compliance, we implemented Companies Act, we implemented IBC. We have to now say that yes, we will do what is called as data analytics. We will do what is called as digital forensics. We will do what is called as a digital assurance, a system audit. Of course, the FAIS, of course, the information system audit standards. All of these are in pipelines. This will make us not only relevant for this country, but also as we speak, 18 plus countries that we will have relevance across. My chairman will, I'll request my chairman, Dayanivas Bhai, to please talk about this function as well. But more importantly, friends, please understand, and I, everywhere that I've gone to speak on digital assurance as a function, one people who have always stood out is a DISA professional. We have to figure out what is our role right now. और उसी के लिए ये सेशन रखा गया है कि व्हाट इज दैट फर्स्ट स्टेप, एंड विनय जी आई वांट यू टू प्लीज एड्रेस ऑल द डीसा प्रोफेशनल्स स्पेशली कि आपने ये पढ़ा है, हाउ डू यू एक्चुअली पुट इट ऑन द पेपर, हाउ डू यू एक्चुअली मार्केट, हाउ डू यू एक्चुअली पिच दैट लुक आई हैव दिस अंडरस्टैंडिंग देयरफॉर दिस आई एम रेलेवेंट हियर, I have done this, so therefore I'm relevant here. And how, as a benchmark, Ankur Kherwal, the secretary of this committee, has done a fabulous job. Has benchmarked the DISA with almost so many other courses, equivalent courses, and we have come out more than 38% effective than the best of the courses across the world. And plus hands-on training, that has been phenomenal. Friends, I also invite you, please stay tuned with DAB because we are launching a new avatar of FFD, maybe in a diploma format very soon. Not just a certificate, but a diploma. We've already got a clearance and we are just waiting for that final approval. But one thing that will happen now is we are creating a sandbox environment. Just you will now actually get into the sand, get your hands dirty, and understand what is it that takes to extract data, what is it that takes to actually give a digital analytics. Believe me, the GST, the income tax, the IBC, the Companies Act are now flooded with data. It is you and me who has to now work with them and give them an assurance of what whether the client has represented is true or not. It's gonna be a total different ball game. What I believe under Modi ji's regime, I believe this transformation is gonna happen. It's gonna happen very soon. The more we interact with the bureaucrats, the advisors to PMO, and chairman will again talk about it. We've understood one thing is there's gonna be a huge shift from what we've been doing as chartered accountant into the audit and assurance sector to now giving them an assurance on merely digital footprints. One very important thing that also comes to my mind while I'm talking about all of this is, friends, understand, um, overall, for the past 40 years, our auditing profession has remained where it was. We've largely focused, but we've not done our documentation well. That is one area that we need to now implement very effectively. Plus, with DISA, FAFD, and information system audit standards, and infused with AI, I'm telling you, we are gonna go the next level. I think I can go on and on because the kind of work and the kind of action that is happening. But I would now request my chairman Dayanivas Sharma to please throw the lights and share that wisdom of why all of us are becoming so relevant, not only for this ecosystem but also for a global footprint through digital accounting framework. Over to you, Dayanivas.
Thank you very much, Vice Chairman, sir. And rather a good start of a newer thing. We are ending the new year, the previous year 2025, and 2026 is going to be something marvelous. There is always a saying, there is a good end, and also there is a good beginning. No one can stop that, neither you nor me or anyone of us. But the most important point is that we be relevant all throughout. First of all, let me thank Ankur for ensuring that this webinar happens for all of us. And he's been doing a great job along with his team in a proper manner, which I'm going to share the activities which are being done during this year in DAB. Rather, I'll say the journey was so smooth. For me, it was tough because of my some personal other reasons, but because of my vice chairman being around, we made certain wonders. It is a time where we need to give you an overview of what DAB is doing because you should know where your institute is standing. It is a journey of 25 years since when DAB has come into place. 25 years is not a shorter period of time. In this 25 years, we gave close to 36,000 chartered accountants who are DISA qualified. 36,000. We gave 16,000 plus chartered accountants who are forensic qualified. But you know what? Individually, there is an old saying, एक अगर लकड़ी है तो तोड़ना आसान है. हम टूटते जा रहे हैं इतने सालों से. But now when we are trying to come as a bundle, there are a lot of things which I am going to talk about it. How bundling should happen today, I'll share with you because we have moved one very important agenda through DAP, which has gone through the Ethical Standard Board, it has gone through the Council, and most importantly, now that is getting recorded in one of the important regulations of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India's CA regulations that corporate form of practice can will be allowed, is allowed, not will be, it is allowed. Any one of you can actually create a corporate form of practice and become partners. You might be spread across 29 states, 100 cities, doesn't matter. You create an entity as per the ICI guidelines, which in the world only ICI has. Your ICI, my ICI, our ICI has given us that opportunity to get it together. Prime Minister's office is talking about multidisciplinary practice. How many of us know that the multidisciplinary practice is allowed by the ICI? Other regulators have not done it, but ICI has done it, I think, 5 years back. A decision was taken and the regulations are being changed, Act has been changed to that level. So now, corporate form of practice, second, multidisciplinary practice. Why I am saying this? Time has come where technology is driving the entire thing. 25 years back, our institute has thought about creating a digital accounting and assurance board, right? And this digital accounting and assurance board, which has given so many numbers of people, Just imagine what all we have. We have got so much of data, so much of knowledge among the people. Today, the biggest challenge with the engineer, Sainiji, I am sorry, but fact is that engineer has knowledge of technology, but the process flows or the other matters which are there that need to be understood by a chartered accountant. I need to give you a control process. Then only you can map the entire layer of technology on that.
Right.
We have been talking since when? 25 years back. And
Yes.
today that is becoming relevant. Whether any other regulator or government is talking, we have talked 25 years back. Again, I am telling you, friends.
Right.
Just imagine we have got a DISA course. You compare with the world's best equivalent degree, where the fact is a person has to open a book, read a book, write an exam, pass. There is no classroom learning. But our DISA course has a classroom learning. Am I right, Secretary Saab?
Yes.
We have a classroom learning, right, for 14 days. It is not simple. Number two, when you have a classroom learning, you actually try to understand and apply your mind in such manner that, okay, this is the flow in which the information has to pass on. Now we got DISA, DISA 2.0, DISA 3.0. Just for your update, friends, your council has approved DISA 4.0 and DISA Plus for all the members going forward, which is completely hands-on experience, which my vice chairman specifically talked about. It's going to be a sandbox approach learning experience. Mean you need to start working with your systems, how it works, not theory anymore. It's going to be more practical oriented. That means DISA 4.0 is for those people who are going to write their exams in time to come, right? And DISA Plus is a model which is getting introduced for those people, those 36,000 chartered accountants who have completed their DISA and they have lost some touch, but the experience is high. So we are just going to top up the entire thing with the correct knowledge, hands-on experience. That is the key of DISA 4.0 and DISA Plus. This has been already approved by your council. The syllabus is almost completed. Shortly, I hope, I'll put my fingers crossed, 1st January 2026, we'll launch our first batch on this. Number two, forensic is a certification course. That means you cannot write with your name a degree, but your council, under the leadership of our president, has approved the certification course is now getting converted into a diploma course, which is a post qualification course. Like you write DISA next to your name, you can write DFI, Diploma in Forensic and Investigations. Just imagine where are you going to stand. Now, the way we got DISA Plus, we have got DISA Plus, FAFD Plus also, in which what is going to happen is those people who have completed the certification course have to write one portion of examination. By writing that portion of examination, you will be eligible to take the diploma certification. So the transition provision also is been passed, approved. The syllabus again is under little preparation. That also will be over. Now, third important point, which is today the key area, which is DPDP. The council again has approved a 3 days certification course for all our chartered accountants just for 5,000 rupees, right, on DPDP. Fourth, with regards to cyber security, which we are going to discuss today, why cyber security is relevant? Because the entire data which was either in my mind or on piece of papers is got into the system, and this data system which is sitting with high amount of risk, if your systems are not put in a firewall mechanism or a protection wall kind of mechanism, and that plays a very crucial role because the entire data is the key today. And if this data is being stolen without having a right cyber security framework, just imagine where we are going to lead towards. It is not only with regards to your own data, you are holding clients' data in confidence, in trust, and that data cannot be lost at any given point in time. How do you protect? Your entire computer system, computer ecosystem, technology ecosystem, infrastructure of technology in your office, you have to understand using the concepts of DISA, because DISA is actually having that syllabus, but we have never applied it. We have read, written exam, passed, but how do you apply? How are you able to guide your client with regards to their systems, how the data can be protected well? So this discussion today on cyber security is going to come from that side. Next, DA labs, data analytics labs are getting done, and we have got the approval, and Hyderabad Center of Excellence will be the first place where 40 plus computers will be loaded with all the new technology and tools for you to come and practice. Importantly, please understand, again I am repeating, they will be allowed, and once this model is done, it will actually move to all the cities and the major cities like Mumbai, where my vice chairman comes from. In WIRC, we will have a data analytics lab. In EIRC, we will have a data analytics lab. In Chennai, we will have a data analytics lab. That means all these computers will be loaded with different kind of softwares. People will come train you. You will be allowed to sit and practice. Not only that, we are proposing, and it is almost approved, where when this data analytic labs are available, you can go for pay and use model. You don't have to spend anything now. Just imagine, where are you heading? Where are, as an institute, where we are heading towards? We want you to get empowered first, learn, and then start working on the newer engagement. So this is going to be a new game changer for this profession in time to come. DCMM, Digital Competency Maturity Model 2.0 is already running, and we are working on 3.0. And hopefully by Jan, we are going to release that document as well. We have got publications like ABCD of technology, blockchain, we have got cyber security, we have got data analytics and data dashboarding, IoT, Internet of Things. There's a beautiful publications which has been published by Digital Accounting and Assurance Board, and they are only relevant. They are not generic. They are more focused on accounting and auditing practices. So it will be very useful for you to go forward. Now, most importantly, what has been happening is the way we have developed the entire Digital Accounting and Assurance Board in Institute. Now, Security Exchange Board of India, RBI, C&AG, and IRDA are actually working with us, and rather, we are also working with them hand in hand to see how this entire technology platforms can enable our members and people who are servicing them in a qualitative manner. Just imagine if these all regulators come together and create an ecosystem. Where are we going to stand? For your information, we gave a small presentation to C&AG on concept of autonomous audit. Might be I need to come some back sometime later and then talk about it, what autonomous audit is. And I request you all who are sitting and watching this, type what autonomous audit is on your Google and find out what it means. And we'll have a session on autonomous audit shortly. The world is moving, rightly stated by Arpit, that it is moving towards digital trust. Technology is going to play a pivotal role in adoption, in growing businesses. Undoubtedly, just go back, because of UPI, what level of adoption of technology has happened, just analyze. A rickshaw wala, a pan wala, our smallest store is today using UPIs. Just imagine how much data is getting created in the entire process. And this data requires a security layer, and that is nothing but cyber security. That is the most important one that we need to all understand. Whether you are in practice, whether you are in industry, the most important part is, without knowledge of cyber security, take it from me, you cannot protect anyone, even your organization, even your clients. Friends, I spoke in one session where we talked about the concept of infrastructure is getting changed. It is people. It is not required to sit in any office. They can be anywhere across the country, anywhere across the world. Get connected with people who have the knowledge. People infrastructure. Second, place. Place is not a criteria anymore. Today, people are running offices in that work villa kind of thing. What is it called, Arpit bhai?
Shared spaces,
Co-working spaces.
co-working
Co-working
spaces.
spaces. People are working across the world in co-working spaces, but they are interconnected. Just
Even virtual
imagine the
are,
kind of
yeah.
people you require. Last thing which I would like to tell, technology is evolving every day, every moment, every minute. Please understand, once upon a time, technology investment was 5 years में एक बार, बट अभी 5 मिनट में एक नया टेक्नोलॉजी आ रहा है. रिमेंबर दिस. And we are just blindly putting all the data on our mobile, our laptops, agreeing to certain cookies, this, that, and all other, without even realizing what is happening. This data is just getting evaporated somewhere, and the data capturing which is happening is the critical aspect in the entire process. Protecting this data and information is something which we all have to understand, because chartered accountants understand the importance of leakage of data, because ultimately the moment there is a fraud, there is money, and when there is money, only a chartered accountant brain will work more effectively. An engineer can guide us to develop a fantastic tool, provided I tell him there should not be any leakages in my entire tool which has been created. So now time has come to collaborate with people and move forward. And my request to you all people is, start working with multiple peoples. Let us start interacting with cybersecurity experts, data analytic experts, data dashboarding experts, you know, SAP experts, technology experts in the entire process, because income tax department is moved towards technology, GST department is moved towards technology, ROC is moved towards technology, MSME is moved toward technology. You talk about ESI, PF, move toward technology. So without technology nothing is there. तो आप अकेले बैठ के तो कुछ करने वाले नहीं है भैया. तो आपको तो प्रिपेयर होना है टेक्नोलॉजी में हम कैसा आगे बढ़े, with debit what comes in, credit what goes out, debit all receiver and payment, right? And you know the three principles very well. Arpit bhai, I think this webinar which we are trying to continue month by month, we are not making friends. Let me tell you, DAB is not doing a program every week, every day. We are doing monthly one program, so that it is registering in your mind. Please do not hesitate to write us if you need any guidance to gdab@ici.in without fail. And otherwise, Arpit Bhai and I are approachable. Arpit Bhai is more approachable because of his technology involvement in social media. I request Vinay Bhai, with this background, to take our members. And fortunately, though you are not a chartered accountant, but you have trained many chartered accountants, you understand the thinking ability of a chartered accountant. Guide them in a true spirit, so that we work on what we are dreaming, and let's achieve something big in time to come. Technology cannot be left. When we understood GST, a complex law, I think technology is easier. Thank you all. Thank you very much. Over to you, Arpit bhai.
Thereby, I think very rightly mentioned. You've highlighted all the fine points. And the best part, the CNAG, the income tax, GST, friends, ROCs are all working on their own LLMs. Your reports are being read by LLMs. Their summary is coming out, and people are taking action on it. Have you actually read your report through an LLM? Do that. I think that is what will give you an insight perspective of how your reports are being seen. Imagine a notice has come out, penalty has been levied because notes to account contains 3 points, but you have given a clean audit report. Well, this is where technology is heading now. Ankur, I request you please set up the tone for Vinerji. Please introduce him quickly, and so we can start off with the session.
So, sir, thank you so much, sir, for sharing DAB's initiative and setting the tone for today's webinar. Now we begin the technical session. I now invite Dr. Vinay Kumar Seni, sir, to take us through insights on cybersecurity assurance, risk identification, control in strengthening, and how DISA can be practically applied to support organizations in rapidly evolving digital environment. So over to you, sir.
Thank you, Ankurji. First of all, thank you, Daya sir and Arpit for setting up the tone for today's session. And I feel privileged and honored to be part of this community who is actually working with an aim of fostering and enabling our chartered accountants to be future ready, right? And to address the needs and the challenges of current scenarios and current challenges in the world. Well, rightly said by Daya sir, collaboration is the only way forward. So we have to work in a cohesive team which can address all the challenges, all the issues which are there in the organizations, and from maybe performance point of view, maybe compliance point of view, or maybe other aspects like risk management. And as Arpit sir also mentioned about, we need to focus on the pace at which world is moving, right? We need to be adaptable and fast to understand the requirements and opportunities in the ecosystem, right? So with this, we'll be talking about today a very critical aspect of assurance for any organization, and that is cybersecurity. Well, you all know, like rightly said by Daya sir, that we have been moving from an era, or like the evolution of data is has seen that the data used to stay in our mind first. Then we saw that people used to write about what they know on rocks and then on papers, and then came computers, and now we have all the data in digital format. So the point is, when we were not having data in digital format, world was very easy, right? And if in case there was any risk or challenge, like means your papers can be stolen by your competitors or adversaries, so we need to have physical security, right? Locks and big chains and all. But now the point is, the data is in cyberspace. What is cyberspace? Cyberspace is a space which is our extended or extension of our physical space, right? So we need to understand what are the critical areas around our cyberspace, where our data is, right? And how we are storing data, how we are processing data, and how data is traveling across various interfaces. So there are so many aspects which need to be understood. And I really appreciate the sir mentioned that the concept which was introduced somewhere around 1998 1999, that the institute felt that we need a skill set which can address future requirements, and our chartered accountant should be capable enough to address future needs. So this course DISA was coined, and it's been like 25 years, and now we have started feeling the importance and criticality of this course. So with this vision in mind, let's start today's session. Our focus would be on cybersecurity assurance, but we'll focus on how DISA addresses this such a big challenge and such a big need of the market, right? So good evening to all of you, and let's start rolling, right? So the point is, this is about me. I'm having technical background, and you can connect with me through various means like email and LinkedIn, and you can contact me for any kind of technical challenges or issues you face, maybe related to technology development or consultancy. So with this, now let's start. The challenge with us nowadays is the cyberspace. Now, what is cyberspace? It is just the extended environment where we work. We are all familiar with our physical space, right? We have campus, we have clients, we have their setups, their operations, business entities, and their business processes all exist in physical space, right? But the point is, most of the business operations, transactions, activities, communications are happening in virtual space, right? Where we have infrastructure like computer networks, cables, maybe Wi-Fi also, and data is traveling across regions, like across countries. So you are actually part of a very large limitless virtual space. So we need to understand that cyberspace is more complicated than our physical space. So we need to have that clarity, like how we are actually communicating, how we are operating, how we are transferring data. So if we have that clarity in mind, so we'll be able to regulate, control, and design our cyberspace, which is called the intra cyberspace. Like, let's say you have an organization, right? And you have to communicate with various parties and other systems, right? So you have to come to cyberspace. because that's the only place where you can interact with all those systems. But having said that, you need to make sure that when you are on cyberspace, you have a check and control around your intra cyberspace, right? Intra cyberspace means where your operations, your organization's operations, or operations related to your clients are happening, and that's the area which you need to protect, right? So that's where you need cybersecurity. So cybersecurity is a practice where you need to protect your cyberspace. You have to ensure confidentiality of your data. Only you, your client, or your target communicator, like your other party on the other side, should be able to understand the data. Integrity means nobody should be able to change the data during communication or transmission. And finally, whenever you need that data or service, it should be available. So these are the three primary objectives that you have to cover in cybersecurity. Means when you are on cyberspace or your organization is in cyberspace, you have to make sure that your data is confidential, nobody is changing it, and you are able to access the data. It's not down, like your server, your website is not down, your intranet is not down. So these are the three major objectives that we have to address. But there are challenges around us like theft, disruption, misuse, and cybercrime, which are making it very difficult to address these issues. And many times we are not sure how effective we are. That's where the role of a DISA qualified auditor, a chartered accountant comes into picture. So means, okay, we can have technology guys who can define systems and security systems and connect them to operate and offer security solutions. But how effective are they? Whether they meet the requirements, whether they have been configured properly, whether they are operating properly or not, somebody has to check that. And maker checker, so technology people who have set up the security systems are not the right person to ensure its operations, right? So you need somebody else to take care of that assurance practice. So that's where our role comes into picture. So today we'll be talking about cyber security assurance through DISA practices. How this course, which was designed which was conceptualized in 1998-99, is now actually addressing the challenges of the world, right? So let me just take you step by step why we should be talking about cybersecurity. Because in the last I'm just taking the recent period like 24-25, there have been some serious cyber attacks, and I'm only talking about India, right? I'm not talking about the global incidents. So this this really raises a very sensitive issue. If we are not taking care of our data, our money, our stakeholders' sentiments, reputation, then all our efforts are getting wasted, right? So you see, these are the top 10 incidents which have occurred in last 1 year, and these you just see the magnitude of the losses they have made. Means like you WazirX hack, 2000 crore estimated. Angel One data leak, 8 million customer records exposed. Just imagine now if you multiply with the magnitude or quantum of the amount or financial value, it's really a very staggering amount. So the point is, we need to understand when these incidents are happening, how they were executed. So somebody would be appointed to review these incidents, right? And then a insight, a valuable information needs to be observed, why and how that incident happened. So there comes like how it happened. So hackers compromise the exchange wallets, improper cloud storage. So you will see that the issue is either in the design of the security of the cyberspace, either configuration, or the lacuna at the point of using and managing that security system. So it means there is a serious need of a professional or a team of professionals who can regularly check and review whether our security systems are working effectively or not. So these kind of incidents clearly gives us an opinion that okay, we need to have an expert who will be addressing the issue of cyber security assurance, right? Every organization, every person wants that cyber threat should not affect their organizations or their data, right? So that's why we are talking about cybersecurity, right? So now But when we are talking about cybersecurity, we just cannot take it from one perspective. If we want to build a robust system which address all the challenges, which fills all the holes in the system, so the point is we need to cover our cyberspace understanding from multiple perspectives. We need to first understand what are all our stakeholders, right? Let's say an entity is running a business, right? Or an organization is there. Fine. Now, the point is for that particular organization, there are people working in the organization, that is internal stakeholders. Then there are external stakeholders like the partners or maybe some other collaborators. Then there are regulatory bodies, right? Then there are other organizations which they are collaborating with. Then there is public, the environment around us, the ecosystem where we are operating. Then there are shareholders like the sponsors, the people who have invested money in our business. Then there are cybersecurity communities who are helping us in making sure our systems are running safely. And finally, when you don't have prevention, you have to detect the incident and then you have to correct the incident, but the damage would be done. So final resolution is insurance providers. So these are the various stakeholders which are part of that cyber security task force, right? So means you cannot ensure effective cybersecurity assurance or practices if you are not covering all these stakeholders. Most of the time cybersecurity is perceived by people like, okay, we need to have some a small team of technical people like tech geeks who are like maybe ethical hacker or maybe people who are into network security domain, and then it's their job and the job would be done. Let me tell you, it's the biggest myth we have for cybersecurity assurance. For effective cybersecurity assurance, you need to cover all these stakeholders, right? First, you need to understand their role and then whether they are being considered in managing and running cybersecurity practices or not. So, who will do this practice or who will do this, who will take care of this responsibility? Well, this is where DISA professional or information system auditor or the cyber security assurance expert come into picture, and that's your role, my dear friends. So you need to understand, the first thing is we need to understand the complete ecosystem of cybersecurity by understanding all the stakeholders around our business entity, right? Only then you will be able to start thinking about effective cybersecurity practices or assurance. So first thing is you have to understand and cover every stakeholder's role in the cybersecurity. Once you understand that, then you are in a position to move forward, right? So coming to the agenda of this today's session, that we have defined our objective, what we want to achieve, that is cybersecurity assurance, and we have already identified the stakeholders, right? Now we have understood, okay, we need to ensure confidentiality, integrity, and availability of data. And these are the various stakeholders who are like part of the ecosystem of the organization's business operations. Okay, now we have to understand what are the different domains which we can pick up to achieve our cybersecurity assurance. So let me tell you one thing. If you see the course DISA has been designed in a manner, I must really salute the whole team. If I'm not wrong, more than 1,000 professionals are there who have been can be credited for this course DISA. So point is, DISA course has a very simple structure. Just imagine there's an organization. They want to achieve assurance in the form of performance, assurance in the form of compliances, risk management, security, operations, performance measurement, and whatnot. There are so many objectives. So, an organization, if they want to achieve success, right, like achievement of their business objectives, interest of their stakeholders, shareholders. So, what they need is they need assurance in various aspects, performance, security, and many more, right? Now, to achieve assurance, what is required? It's a serious challenge. Just think you are the CEO or the head of an organization who's running a business, and now you want to have assurance that our business would be meeting our objectives. So there are so many challenges. Can we have a structured approach where we can define a skill set that if a person or expert can go through these skill sets, then he's a expert who can provide consultancy and assurance services, that is auditor services, for any organization who's looking for assurance in any domain, risk or compliance or performance measurement, any, right? So this was the need of this course. So the course was designed in a manner that let's assume an organization, and we have to put skill sets which can address any challenge of any organization. So with this whole course was designed. And if you see, there are 6 modules. First module talks about the audit process. We must have clarity. When we have a IT-based information system, what should be our approach of auditing that system, reviewing that system, or checking or evaluating that system? So it means that a IT-based system is more complex than a non-IT-based system. So we must have best practices. We must have clarity around what is the best mechanism to conduct evaluation in limited time and deliver assurance. So that's where various technical aspects have been identified in module 1. Like you can use risk-based auditing. You have to use best practices like peer reviews and audit risk and auditing standards, and many more best practices around the world. Like there are some guidelines from ISACA also. We have our own study material where we are actually talking about what is the best practice of performing IS audit. So this is first module. How we will be performing our work, like risk-based methodology, right? Like compliance testing, substantive testing. Then comes second. Second module talks about, okay, for any organization, the work starts from the top. So if you want to achieve assurance, you have to start achieving assurance from the top. So governance audit is there. Then you have risk management audit. Then you have compliance audit. Then you have business continuity management audit. Then you have performance audit. It means once you have understood how to do audit, you should be able to do top management practices audit, governance, risk, compliance, business continuity management, and performance measurement. If you cover these 5 areas, you have addressed the headache of the top management, right? And if these 5 operations are happening effectively after you have evaluated, if they are working effectively, I think the organization's policy structure, framework, and top management practices are very good. So it means the organization is directed and monitored appropriately. So that's the objective we address by module 2. Now comes module 3, where we are actually testing the system, whether the system is meeting business objectives, designed properly, which addresses the requirement of the organization, right? It could be in-house development, it could be outsourcing, or it could be acquisition. In all 3 scenarios, we have to check whether the organization, the information system organization is using, is meeting business objectives. So what you have to do is you have to audit the system, how it was developed, how it was acquired, or how it was developed if it was outsourced, right? So these are the practices which you cover in module 3. Once you have tested the system, evaluated the system, then comes the operations of the organizations, and that is information system operations and management review. So here you will do IT asset management review, configuration management review audit, or maybe change management audit, then incident management audit, then support services like help desk support. Like if anything goes down in organization's information system, whether there is a capability of addressing that incident or not, whether help desk operations are there to help employees and people who are working on various business processes. So that kind of assessment is done at module 4 level, where we have various different kind of audit practices. Once you do these 2, 3, and 4, you have covered the complete organization's information system, right? From governance, risk, compliance, development, processes, operations, services, configuration management. But there comes the biggest challenge now. Once the system is ready to operate, it means you are entering into the cyberspace. And there comes the need of cybersecurity or protection of your data. And that's what is addressed by module 5, protection of information assets. where you have to cover physical security, environmental security, and many more. And once you have protected your system, once you have done the security audit, finally comes it means you have ensured your organization is working effectively in current state. In today's from if you talk about the today's timestamp, you have reviewed it, it's working fine. But what about the future? Whether your business is sustainable, whether it can meet future needs, future demands, scalability, there comes the need of emerging technologies. How we can take up new challenges and use emerging technologies to address those challenges. That's where comes module 6. But if let's say you are picking AI, blockchain, or maybe cloud computing to really scale up your business, or maybe addressing complex challenges of scalability, you need to make sure one thing, whether that technology is going to add value to your system or not, or is it going to create more complex problems or risks. So that assessment, that evaluation comes in emerging technologies audit, right? So in summary, or in simple words, I must say these 6 modules are designed in a manner that whatever is a need of any organization, there will be assurance around that need. That's how this course has been designed, right? But let's come to the agenda for today's session. Okay, this course is a very good course. It has all the ingredients which are required to address any challenge of the organization. But if we specify the challenge, and the challenge is cybersecurity, okay? If we specify the challenge, we have to only talk about cybersecurity, right? That's the most important agenda. Then how this course come into picture? Let me tell you. So if we talk about cybersecurity of an organization, so we need to understand, I earlier mentioned that we need to cover various stakeholders and we need various different kind of practices to achieve cybersecurity. So that means that we need multiple layers of security, right? So here I want you all to visualize, okay, let's imagine an organization. They have an information system, maybe like running on a cloud. Okay, let's say a website is there, ERP application is running, and it has various interfaces where like all kind of people, like the top management, the middle management, and the operational staff, all are logging in and they're working. They have a big IT infrastructure. They have 3 offices across India, right? Now, to provide cybersecurity to this kind of setup, what do you think? How cybersecurity would be implemented? You just cannot install firewalls in all the devices. You need to have a more comprehensive understanding. That's where that point I mentioned, like all stakeholders need to be covered. So it means you need to have a multiple layer security covering every specific aspect based on what you have assessed from stakeholders point of view. What is the need of like our regulators? What is the need of our partners? What is the need of our customers? What is the need of our shareholders, stakeholders? So it means that we need to have a multiple layer of securities. So I have prepared a table here, like layers are there on the left hand side. In the middle, I have mentioned what has to be done, and on the right side, I have mentioned that these kind of things are addressed in which module of DISA, right? So we have 6 modules, right? So when I talk about governance and risk layer, it means we need to ensure that we have proper policies, guidelines, structure, strategy defined for cybersecurity. And where it would be defined? It would be defined by the top management and approved by the top management, right? And this area is covered in module 2 of DISA. Then comes people security, right? Where people are working on business operations, their identity, IAM means identity and access management, their user accounts, user creation, their privilege assignments, authentication, authorization, that has to be ensured. And proper training is required and threat protection is required. So that area is covered in module 4, where we are talking about information system operations and management, right? Because user access has to be controlled and managed. So that's where people security is concerned. Then comes device security, endpoint device protection, where we have to focus on detection and response mechanism. That is covered in module 5. Same way, network security, where firewall segmentation and zero trust based strategies are used. So we have module 5, application security, module 3, where we are developing the system and we are ensuring that the system is developed as per business objectives. And your system doesn't work in isolation, it interacts with other systems. So that's where the need of API security comes into picture. API is like a mechanism where your system interacts with the other system and they are exchanging data, right? So application programming interface, it's a link between your system and some other system where they are communicating for business objective. So that area is covered in module 3. Then data security, that is data loss prevention, means what data is moving out of your office. You need to have awareness around that. What are the different ways in which your data from your office can go out, right? You have to put a check monitoring on that. That is where DLP comes in. DLP solution, DLP software comes into picture. Data loss prevention. And of course, when data is traveling, you have to make sure encryption is there and you're taking regular backup. That is covered in module 5. Cloud security. As we know, cloud is an emerging technology. So we have exclusive reference of cloud computing and auditing practices around cloud computing in module 6. Then physical security, again, module 5, where we are focusing on protection of information assets. Vendor security, third party risks and all, again, module 5. So monitoring and response, where we have to take care of ensuring that we have a proper setup to check what is happening in our systems. Transactions are happening, then what traffic is coming in, what traffic is going out. For that, we need a very robust and very well structured security operations center, SOC. And then we need a very strong SIEM tool, security incident event and event management tool, which will check every activity event that is happening in our organization's information system. And then we need incident response. And if something goes wrong, we need forensics to see how it was done, who did that. So for that, we need forensic practices. I think by mistake I've mentioned it module 4 here. It has to come in module 5, right? But there is a reference in module 4 also. In the end, we are talking about incident response as an operation in the organization. So that's the reason you can cover it in partially in module 4. But when you talk about its design and implementation, you can give the reference of module 5 also. So I should better write it module 4 comma 5. Then comes compliance and audits. So that is where you have to understand how to approach an audit, how to plan an audit. So module 1 is a best place to plan audits, identify all compliance requirements, right? And regulators need. So based on that, you can plan your audit and then perform assurance practices. Last is business continuity layer, where you have to make your organization system resilience, and you must have recovery capability. That is covered in module 2. So just imagine if you have an enterprise and if you want to ensure cybersecurity, so there are various layers, right? Governance risk layer, people security, device security. So as an auditor, what is required is that we must have some kind of a practice defined in the organization. First, let's see from the point of view of consultant. Let's say there is an organization and they are running very sensitive business operations. So they want cybersecurity assurance. So first, what they need is they need security practices guidelines for each of these layers. They need to have a strategy for implementing these different layers of security. So what you can do is you can first prepare a document where you have security policy implementation guidelines, security policy and implementation, security implementation guidelines for all these layers. You prepare that document, right? And you can take references from some best practices, or you may use like AI also, like Gen AI. And then you can refer to the standards also, like ISO 27001, or maybe COBIT frameworks, security guidelines, where there are two processes. There is a process managed security. You can refer that also for best practices. And once you prepare your strategy with detailed plan, security implementation plan for all these layers, you have a very big business case or a kind of a proposal. You can pitch that proposal to any organization, or perhaps even if you're not pitching, just prepare that proposal for first your organization. That if I want to ensure cybersecurity in my organization, I need best practices for all these layers, right? With implementation guidelines, what kind of security practices are required, what kind of controls are required, what kind of configurations are required for security, right? Once you define these documents, then you just have to make sure that these are implemented effectively in the organization. So this is the whole like structure, or you can say a kind of a framework within which you work. And all these layers somewhere are mapped with the DISA course, right? You can see, you can get references from these modules to prepare these documents, right? Once you prepare these documents, what you can do when we talk about first module, so what you can do with first module is that you can help organizations in building their security practices, right? So you can build a methodology how you will analyze the risk of the organization, and how you are going to prepare like control practices for their business operations, which addresses the compliance requirement also. It means with this, under the module one skill set, you will be able to create a risk control matrix, right? What are the various risks? Let's say, I'll just give you a reference. Like if you're talking about governance, let's pick this compliance and audits, right? Okay, this is the module one layer, a layer related to module one of our DISA. So what you need to do here is we need to identify the risk and compliance requirements, and then we need to define set of controls which can address these requirements effectively, right? And then once our risk control matrix is ready, we can test the control effectiveness. If the controls are existing, we have to test the control. If controls are not existing, we have to report that these things are the gaps in the organization's information system, right? And this way you will be able to ensure whether the control practices are able to prevent, detect, and correct security incidents in the organization, right? So the point is, if we talk about module one, it helps you perform audit around cyber security assurance practices, right? So it helps you build foundation for cyber security assurance or assessments. It means from module one, you can take inputs and you can build your capability that you can plan an audit, you can execute an audit, and finally you can report the gaps and your findings. That's what you can take away from module one, right? I'll take a small case study here to make it more relevant. So let's say there is a bank, HDFC Bank. They faced they are having internet banking access control review scenario. So the context was the bank initiated an independent IS audit after multiple phishing related fraud complaints from customers. So it's not a hypothetical case, it's a real case scenario, right? So complaints are coming from customers. They are saying that they are getting phishing mails and they are facing cyber threats because of that. And there have been certain incidents where they have lost money as well, right? So, so audit was performed. So what were the findings of the audit? And here you need to understand the audit would be planned. They would have identified what are the areas to be covered based on the priority materiality. They would have prioritized, okay, these are the areas we will be reviewing, and these are the findings. They reviewed the logs which showed weak anomaly detection. Means the systems are there, security practices are there, but their anomaly detection practices are not effective. They're weak. They are missing out various means various anomalies are going undetected, right? The other thing is IS auditor applied risk-based audit planning, right? And identified gaps in their authentication and control practices. Session timeout controls are not working effectively. And then GeoIP monitoring means they were not able to monitor or attacks on their client systems, right? So the point is, we need to understand that when we talk about a system, threat landscape is a very big. cyberspace is a very huge or unlimited space, and threats can come from anywhere at any point of time. So it means when the auditor performed a review of HDFC Bank, so they came up with various findings. Now, why these findings are there? Why the controls are not effective? If controls have already been defined, systems are in place, why they are not effective? This simply gives you a clear observation. Either there is an issue with the configuration, or the people are not trained enough, or it's a negligence, right? It's a negligence. So we need to understand there can be various factors behind risk getting materialized. So in a way, our objective is to identify the gaps and how much damage has happened, right? So evidence was collected using log analysis, configuration review, walkthroughs, so like substantive testing. So you picked the logs and you identified that, okay, network traffic shows that these kind of access attempts have been made, but which are not as per your expected behavior in the banking system. So it means these are external attempts which are not in line with your business operations. So it means these are attacks. These are the threats. So final outcome, bank implemented real-time fraud monitoring and strengthened adaptive authentication. So means their existing practices were obsolete and they were not able to meet the real-time challenges. So they updated the system and eventually they were able to minimize the what do you call the threat by 60%, right? Reducing phishing attacks by 60%. So that's a big win, right? So what this shows is that we need to understand regular assessment is required no matter how good your controls practices are, right? When you design controls for certain risks or challenges, they may address the issues which you have considered, but not the issues which may come when your system is in place. So there's a very popular saying by Einstein that we cannot solve the problems with the same mindset by which we have identified them. For example, you have identified gaps in a system, or you are designing a control practice for a system. But when it would be operational, the risk magnitude or the risk domain would be different, right? So you need to have a real time monitoring. Now, module 2 talks about the top management practices. So here, in terms of cybersecurity, what we can do is we can refer to best practices and we can identify what are the biggest challenges around our organization's cyberspace. And we can define our goals, like what we want to achieve. We must have a policy around in the organization where we exclusively address the cybersecurity. What is our perspective? What all we want to cover in cybersecurity? That's what we can do with the help of module 2. So module 2 perhaps talks about the top management's perspective on how much cybersecurity is required, how much compliance coverage is there, what are the risk, how much risk we can accept, that is the risk appetite, and what is the risk which we cannot accept and we have to mitigate it, right? And that's where comes ERM, enterprise risk management practice, right? And of course anything can go wrong at any time and disastrous situation can happen. So then you will need business continuity practice also. So cyber threats can lead to disastrous scenarios also. They start with the state of incident, then they, if they are not getting controlled, they may become crisis, and finally we may end up in a state of disaster. So if you see, there have been various incidents. Like a major one was like if you were, might have observed news around that time, like Microsoft glitch was there, and there were various disruptions across various different kind of industries. And one of the biggest which suffered was, I think, airline, right, aerospace industry. So it was like they said that because after investigation, Microsoft came up with a lot of explanations. They said that they have some third party vendor, they updated a patch, and it affected their actual operational system. So eventually their system were not able to start even. So these things can happen anytime, right? So incident can get into crisis scenario and maybe in the disaster scenario. So Top management has to set up assurance around that we have adequate practices in terms of risk management, business continuity, compliance assurance. So here, as an auditor, as a professional, what we can do is we can either be a consultant or an auditor to address this challenge of top management, whether the cybersecurity policies are defined well or not, whether they meet the actual risk magnitude. Many times, people, or many times, we are not clearly aware about our needs. And what is the reason about that? For that, the reason is we are missing out some stakeholders in the loop. So we have to cover all stakeholders. We just cannot think about from one perspective, right? So with that approach, I think we can build a comprehensive policy where all stakeholders' concerns are covered, and we can have effective security assurance, right? So with module two, we can have a policy structure framework defined on what we want to achieve in terms of cybersecurity, and what practices are required at risk management at enterprise level, and compliance assurance, along with the business continuity, right? And of course, we can take inputs from agencies like certain. Then we can refer to various compliances like GDPR, DPDP, where we have to ensure data protection and cybersecurity is a key concern there. And we can refer to various other compliances like RBI framework also for cybersecurity. So these are some of the areas which every organization need to address, right? Let's take quickly a case study here. Tata Steel, right? Cyber resilience and risk governance transformation. So what was the context? Following an attempted ransomware attack on its OT network, right? Their operational network, what which was reported in 2020. So they felt like key cybersecurity is going to be a serious challenge for them. So Tata Steel undertook a cybersecurity governance overhaul. So they wanted to have reassessment of whatever they are already doing and how they can improve in terms of cybersecurity. So what was done? GRC and BCM review were conducted, and finally they adopted COVID-based IT governance and implemented enterprise-wide cyber risk registers, like they are documenting and recording every risk and monitoring them. Then they conducted BCM maturity assessment, like how mature they are in terms of addressing any crisis or disaster scenario, right? Finally, they ensured compliance with certain directives, like you have to monitor every event, you have to log it, you have to monitor, and time stamping should be there. And if there are certain incidents that need to be reviewed in terms of their impact, and what are the best practices to address those risks. So with this, they basically improved their cyber resilience score and shortened incident response time. That's very important. 40%. That's really a big improvement, that they can now respond faster than their past practices. Right. So eventually what happens is module 2 gives you a clarity that you need to understand your organization's ecosystem, and you must address regulatory requirements, your stakeholders' concerns, and all the security expectations from your organization, right? So that's what module 2 talks about. And as an auditor, as a consultant, you can help organization in setting up their cyber security policies, which has coverage of compliances, business continuity, and all stakeholders need, right? So then comes module 3, where we are talking about the system development. So here, cybersecurity practices should be focused on how system has been designed, whether it is robust system. There are no security gaps in between, right? So that's our major area in terms of cybersecurity. So here, as an auditor, as a consultant, you can focus on how the system has been designed, what are the controls around applications, and how people are using it, right? Um, and then how change management is exercised in the organization. Whenever there's a change in the organization, is there a formal procedure for that? Whether the change is reviewed in terms of its effectiveness and maybe some unreasonable impact on the organization. So that has to be reviewed. So with a SDLC kind of audit scenario, we can have a exclusive cybersecurity practice or a policy defined which focus on system development, maintenance, and change management review. Right? It means a cybersecurity policy exclusively should be defined for any new program or software which is developed for the organization. And it should be like security should never be an afterthought. Let's build the system first, then we'll secure it. That's a big stupidity. So we must focus on the moment we think of a system or a new application to be launched for our organization, we should start security as our first requirement rather than the functionality and other things. So, as a consultant, as an auditor, you can help organizations in having a clarity around how they should approach system development or any new application that they need for their organization. The first priority should be the security, cyber security, and then the functionality and many other aspects. So means security requirements should be there in the requirement specification for that particular system, right? So once you do once you review the system, then you will see that you already have control practices defined, and you just have to check the effectiveness of those controls, right? So and once a system is developed, it is implemented, you can have a follow-up reviews, you can have maintenance reviews and implementation reviews just to ensure that the system addresses the cybersecurity needs, right? So let's take a case study here as well, like UIDAI Aadhaar system. We all know it's a very popular system in our country. So secure SDLC and application audit. It's a case study around that. So for Aadhaar authentication services, UIDAI performs stringent application audit before rollout. Just imagine how sensitive the system is. And if you're not having application audits before you operationalize the system, you are actually creating a big risk scenario. And just imagine the magnitude of the risk. The people across country are using this system, right, for various different kind of operations across various different kind of e-governance and governance services, government services. So if it has a security lacuna, just imagine the threat magnitude and how much damage it can make. So you need SDLC and application audit before you actually roll out the system. So they did mandatory VAPT and code review, and certain ensured that the adequate skill set is there, adequate staff is there, or the firm with the actual competency of doing such kind of audit is there. And I think it's a great opportunity for even CAs also. Like if you have some interest in cybersecurity, so you should upgrade your portfolio and you should try to get empaneled with certain, if you want to have more and more assignments in this domain, right? So certain empanels firms for cybersecurity audits or security audits. So all new modules tested for input validation, encryption. So means whenever an application is developed, so we need to test each and every functionality in terms of the security and effectiveness. And whenever, of course, there will be changes in the future. So change management should be very stringent, and only after testing all the changes from various requirements, you should roll out that change or update the system. So outcome was reduced API misuse and enhanced resilience against identity fraud. So you will see that a system keeps on evolving, and whenever there is a new thing coming in the system or developed in the system, it needs to be tested thoroughly before it is rolled out, right? So this is the takeaway we can take from module 3 in terms of security and cybersecurity, right? So next comes is module 4, which talks about organizations information systems operations, how our business operations are happening in the organization, right? And how, what kind of IT infrastructure is used for running those operations. In simple words, let's say you are having your firm, right, and you are running your business, right? You're offering consultancy services, financial consultancy services, compliance services, and many more services, right? The point is, you are using IT infrastructure. Are you aware is it whether it is adequate? Are you aware whether it is taking care of the security practices? You are clear and expert in your business operations, the services that you offer, but you're offering those services through digital systems. So you need to have clarity around that, whether I have adequate infrastructure, and if that infrastructure is offering services in a secure manner or not, right? So that's what is addressed by module 4. So it tests whether you have right kind of IT assets, like the computers, the softwares, the hardware part and the softwares, then the network, then security practices, right? The internet bandwidth connectivity. Are you able to meet your workload? All these things are part of module 4. We call it as capacity management. We call it as IT asset management, right? And there are best practices for that. ITIL, you might have heard about IT infrastructure library. It's a set of processes that defines how you can ensure effective operations in your organization, having adequate IT infrastructure and processes around that. It's not that just okay, we'll have hardware, we'll put softwares, we'll connect networks and internet, and we are done. No, 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 no. You have to make sure that your systems devices are configured properly. I'll give you a small example here. Let's say you all are using laptops, but I'm quite sure that you all would be using your laptops by the default configuration. You all would be logging in as an administrator. Only one account is there in your laptop, and that has administrator privileges, which should never happen, right? That's the biggest configuration blunder that you're doing, right? Beside that, what kind of firewall setting should be there, addressing your specific operations requirement, right? Whether installation of certain kind of software should be stopped or not, right? So all these things are there, right? The point is, most of the time organizations are using systems in default mode, and that's a big blunder. So why it is happening? Because nobody cared about IT asset management. If we have a formal IT asset management process defined, what will happen? We'll have a check on what is our workload. We'll only acquire that IT infrastructure which is required. First. Second, once we have acquired that IT infrastructure, keeping in mind the compliance and industry best practices. For example, you might have heard about common criteria specification. Means hardwares and softwares must meet these security requirements. If they are meeting, only then they are adequate for usage in organization's information system. So you can go and check what is common criteria specification for IT infrastructure or hardware and softwares. So you'll get guidelines. Okay, like when you go to market, you'll get like say printers from various vendors. You'll have laptops from various vendors. But how many of them are actually following common criteria specifications? And if you have a device which is not meeting common criteria, it means it has security vulnerabilities, right? So it means it's not that you are having IT infrastructure. You must be very clear whether you have the right IT infrastructure or not. Okay, so that's where this module 4 comes into picture, that gives you a clarity on how much IT infrastructure I should get for my organization's information system requirements, from where I should get it, what should I check when I'm getting it, like common criteria specifications, right vendor should be selected at right cost, means optimal cost, and service level agreement is the next thing once you have selected the vendor. Because once you select it, and if you're not getting proper support in other services, maintenance services, then your all investment is like gone. Once you have purchased it, you have acquired it, the next most important thing is the deployment part. How you are setting up in your organization, the configurations, right? The settings in every hardware device, every software. I'm telling you, you pick your mobile phone, there are many applications in your mobile phone. And I ask you a simple question. Have you ever configured security of your applications like WhatsApp, or maybe what else you use, like Paytm, or maybe what other popular applications? Let's say if you are using e-commerce like Amazon, have you configured the security settings in that? No. Most of you would never have even thought about it. So it means we are doing a blunder here. We are picking some IT infrastructure, hardware device, softwares, and we are running our business operations, but we are not making sure that they are running in default mode. They are running in default mode means they are vulnerable. We have to update their settings, we have to reset their settings before we actually use them. So first you identify your workload, second you identify the right vendors with appropriate service level agreement, third thing is you have to deploy them with adequate security settings, fourth comes is you need to regularly monitor, and arises you need to maintain your systems. And then the last stage comes, there will be a time when it's the end of your end of life for that particular device or the software, and you have to upgrade. So you'll dispose of like the retirement stage of your system, like maybe a hardware device or a software, and you'll come up with a new one. But here also e-waste regulations and various environmental regulations comes into picture. So module 4 is very interesting practice area where actually you as a consultant or an auditor can ensure that the IT infrastructure which organization is using for running their business is managed properly. Right from the stage, how much we need, whether we have acquired from the right place, we have configured it properly before we use it, and once we are using it, regular monitoring and maintenance, and finally, when the need arises, replacement. So that's what module 4 addresses. So once you've done that, you actually get assurance around the IT infrastructure is good enough to address cybersecurity requirements. So let's take a case study here as well. NPCI, UPI infrastructure. You know, UPI is a very popular platform in our country, and it is like evolving like anything, and its usage is means like it increased like exponentially, and it is getting bigger and bigger every day, right? So the point is it's a very sensitive system. So the context is NPCI, the agency which manages, operates UPI, IMPS, AEPS. So these are all like payment systems. So mission critical financial rails of India. Yes, no doubt about it. So what is required here is adequate infrastructure, adequate configuration, because if the configuration goes here and there, the total system collapses, and just imagine the magnitude of loss we can face in terms of financial, right? Because everybody is using a UPI kind of practice for payments. So IT operations and management should be adequate and appropriate. So security operation centers need to be reviewed, set up, which have SIEM capability. If you recall, I mentioned SIEM can be considered in module 4 and 5 as well, right? So here we are talking about setting up SIEM in SOC. So security operations center is there, centralized place, which is not doing business operation, which is having exclusive software, SIEM, security incident and event management. So it is monitoring whatever is happening in the organization, who is sending message to who is sending mail to who is interacting from outside world with our system. All incidents are being monitored by this facility called SOC, Security Operations Center. The job is to just monitor what is happening, what is coming in, what is going out. So just check everything, anything fishy that comes into picture. Now you would say, how they will be knowing this is fishy? So there are patterns, there are firewall rules. This is acceptable, this is not. So then you have AI based program which is actually monitoring, because the volume of traffic is so high, you cannot manually do a review this. Though you have rules, but manually you cannot review all these events. So you have an AI program which is creating a dashboard which is highlighting this is the red incident, this is a green incident. So every event which is happening is being monitored. So they are categorized in green, orange, red. The red ones are the sensitive ones which need top priority response mechanism. So you'll pick that red one. One of the agent in the SOC will pick it, will study it, what it is. Is it a fake red, false red, or actual red? If it is actual red, first of all, contain it. Means if it is, let's say, a malware attack, so it entered through a particular IP, right? So just block that IP and then block that particular machine to interact with other network systems. So that is containment. Means now the infection is in only one system. So once containment is done, then see the incident pattern, like from which source it has come, how much damage it has done, and then based on lesson learned, you update your incident monitoring and firewall rules, so that the next time if this kind of incident comes, it should get contained at the firewall entry level only. It should not even enter in the system, right? So this is how SIEM and security monitoring works. So you have a hybrid tool which is monitoring every event that is happening in the organization, right, through data packets. So hardware security modules, where you need to make sure that all your hardware devices are monitored regularly with secure interfaces. So whenever like an activity or like a transaction is happening, your hardware devices should be secure enough that they allow safe transaction, right? Uh, so the handheld modules by which you can process and make payments like through cards or UPI. Now you have handheld UPI devices also, right? And QR code based mechanism is also there. So how to ensure security around all those things? Then ITIL process should be there. Means it's a best practice, so we can take inputs whether our UPI systems are following these kind of practices or not. And finally, AI driven check should be there, because the transaction volume is so high that you just cannot really monitor this manually. So you need to have AI based tools capabilities to address these things. So outcome is near zero downtime. You want to make payment, it's all every time it is available. So you know security objectives: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So with the UPI, we have good availability, like near zero downtime, and strong assurance of availability and transaction integrity. No change in between. So it means module 4 gives us capability of understanding our IT requirements. What is our business workload? Let's have adequate infrastructure, and we configure infrastructure in a way that meets our security requirements. So configuration is a very critical thing here, right? So it means that in module 4 or through module 4, we can address cybersecurity practices where we can have secure system, secure infrastructure, and finally the secure configuration in every single device, right? And once it is done, we are ready to run our business operations. Okay, so this is what we can take away from module 4 practices. And now module 5, which exclusively talks about protection of information assets. Now you would say, sir, okay, you talked about module 4's perspective in terms of cybersecurity. Then why we are again talking about cybersecurity here? Now in module 4, we talked about the IT resources we are using to run business operations, right? What IT infrastructure we have, what operations are there, configuration of devices, all those. Module 5 exclusively talks about the security management system, right? Just device is not the only thing. I, I told in the beginning that we need to cover all stakeholders. And if you go back and check this, let me tell you that slide, this one, there are so many layers, right? There are so many layers. Now, how you can ensure that all these layers are defined and they are adequately defined and you have control practices around that? I told you already, to achieve cyber security assurance, you need all these layers. And some of the layers come from some modules, some of the layers are related to some module. But when we talk about module 5, this exclusively talks about protection of information assets, like whether we are safeguarding our organization's information assets, right? So it means for that we need a security system. It exclusively says that every organization should have a security management system. Let me tell you, in the previous module, we talked about security operations center. Security operations center is only the monitoring mechanism. It will only monitor what is happening. But when I say security management system, it is a bigger thing. Means what kind of security our organization needs, what levels of security, how many layers. physical security, environmental security, and then user management, user security, people security, and then your what do you call compliance security layer. Then many more were there, as I mentioned here, vendor security layer, then business continuity security layer. So there are so many layers which needs to be defined. Who will define that? Well, for that, we need a well-defined system. And that system is referred as ISMS, Information Security Management System. So every organization should have an ISMS, and ISMS is a bigger system within which SOC is also a component. So Security Operation Center is just playing the part of or role of monitoring the security. But first of all, we need to set up the security system. That is ISMS. So for that, what we can do is we need to understand various aspects. The whole, like the way I started, like you need to identify all the stakeholders, all of your security requirements, and then you have to create a top levels information security policy that should be approved by the top management. How we see information security and what kind of system we want, that perspective should be clear. And then you can define that you need physical security, environment. So there are best practice, and there are areas like physical security, environmental security. Then you have logical security, network security, right? And then under that information security policy, you have various policies for encryption policy, you have email policy, you have password policy, you have data loss prevention policy, then you have BYOD policy nowadays, like work from home or work on the go. So when you are having mobile devices, then you need BYOD policy also, which is part of again your security management system. So every policy will have certain kind of rules, control practices, which need to be integrated in the system. So module 5 is a bigger perspective, addresses a bigger perspective, which talks about the complete security management system. So out of all 6 modules of DISA, module 5 actually talks about the security management, is how the overall security of the organization would be managed, right? And for that, you have to set up that system. A strong team should be there. You can follow best practices like ISO 27001, which is basically a certification standard. Like you can check whether you are good enough or not, right? So let's say you want to do business with some offshore players, like maybe in US or UK or maybe Europe. So first of all, the requirement is that whether you are ISO 27001 compliant or not, whether you are DPDP, no, not DP, GDPR compliant or not. So for that, you need to get that certification, compliance certification, like ISO 27001. So as a consultant, as an auditor, what you can do is you can first make sure that the organization is good enough for, or whether they are ready for that ISO 27001 certification or not. For that, what you can refer is ISO 27002, which is basically implementation guideline, how to set up an ISMS. So for auditors, for consultants, ISO 27002 is a document to refer. It will help you how to set up security management system in an organization, right? So with those best practices, you can set up the system. Once the system is set up, you can go for certification. You can ask agencies to test your systems, and then they will issue you a ISO 27001 compliance certificate, right? So that covers network security, endpoint security, encryption, DLP, identity and access management, and VAPT, vulnerability assessment and penetration testing. And it addresses all these objectives of security. So that's what module 5 brings in. So most important module from a security point of view or cyber security point of view is module 5, right? So let's take a case study. I think it's a very popular incident. Almost everybody would have read about it. Ames Delhi faced ransomware attack in November 2022. So context is like India's largest medical institution suffered a major ransomware attack that crippled operations for weeks. So security control failures identified, how it happened, like it was reviewed, legacy systems lacked adequate endpoint protection. So I tell you, no matter how good, how strong your security, your systems are, the weakest link in the system is the endpoint device. So I'll give you a simple example. Let's say you are having your Gmails or email service providers, and you observe, or maybe you might have observed somebody saying ki mera Gmail hack ho gaya hai, my Gmail ID is hacked, it has been misused by somebody else. So does that mean Gmail's server is hacked, or there is a gap in the security of Gmail? No, it's not that. It's the issue at your endpoint device. It's the unawareness or carelessness at the user's point that it has led to the breach of security and the email has got hacked. So it means the weakest link in the system is the endpoint device. So we must have an adequate endpoint device security policy. We must have security awareness in around the people who are working on endpoint device. And if you recall, I mentioned you that you are using laptops and you're using default administrator login for all your operations. That's the biggest blunder you are doing. I'm working on this laptop. I never use my laptop as an administrator. I never log in into my system as an administrator. I log in as a standard user, and whenever I need to do certain like configuration changes or maybe some admin level activity, so I just run that activity and then run it as administrator. So means I'm only giving privilege or approval for that particular event activity, right? It means the least principle of least privilege is being exercised here. So that should be your approach. That should be the configuration in endpoint, right? So whenever some configuration or admin level task is being done, only that should need admin privilege requirement. Otherwise, you should use your device as a normal user where you are having a lot of restrictions. You cannot perform anything which affects the security of your system. And that's the agenda behind, that's the objective behind endpoint security policy, right? So I recommend you all to go and check endpoint security policy for your mobile draft. You can use LLM or chat GPT or various other tools like Perplexity, and you can ask, okay, can you give me an endpoint security policy for my mobile device, like with this configuration? Can you give me a endpoint security policy and control practices or configurations for my laptop based on Windows 11 and all? So it will give you complete set of settings that you are supposed to do, right? First thing it will say, don't use in default mode, don't you log in as an administrator, then make sure your firewall is on, then make sure your privileges are as per the requirement of the user, like need to know, need to do basis, and all those things, right? So post incident, what happened at AIMS? They deployed zero trust architecture. Don't trust anybody. That's the concept called principle of least privileges. And zero trust means one thing is you are giving least privileges. Second, there is maker checker at everything. Zero trust means whatever is being made has to be checked. Whatever has been done has to be checked by somebody. So that is zero trust architecture. You trust nobody, right? That should be the approach when you're dealing with sensitive systems. So that was deployed, that architecture, that there is maker checker at every event, every activity, every point where data is either traveling or stored or getting processed. Then implemented 24/7 security monitoring and segmentation. Enforced centralized patching. So means patching and update, change management should be centralized so that every single change or activity is being monitored and governed and goes through a proper authorization check. Otherwise, any small change can really disrupt or can damage the system. So these are some real good updations that they did, and identity management also. And eventually, the outcome is significantly improved resilience for India's largest health data repository. So with these kind of practices, I think we actually ensure effectiveness of our systems. So module 5 is the most important module that addresses the cybersecurity assurance from a bigger perspective, that we have to manage the security management system, right? So the last module, the emerging technologies, well, this module actually, as I told earlier, focuses on the sustainability, the future of our organization. We are good at till now. Till now, we are good. We have security management system also. We have IT asset management practices. We have governance practices. We have SDLC practices. We have auditing process also. But what about the future? Are we good enough to address our competitors? Are we like challenges? Are we good enough to address future scalability requirements in our organization? That's where emerging technologies come into picture. But as you know, technology is a double-ended sword. So let's say your organization feels that we need to move to cloud or maybe adopt AI based softwares to address our operational needs. But as a consultant, as an auditor, we must make sure that that technology will add value, not enhance the risk magnitude. So first we need to evaluate whether that technology is required or not, and then business case analysis, like cost benefit analysis, how much cost it is going to incur and whether it is a genuine business case or not, whether implementation of this technology in the current setup is going to add value, is going to generate benefits or not. That needs to be evaluated first. Once you evaluate that, then you need to help organization designing that system, that it covers cyber security assurance practices also. As I mentioned earlier, security should not be a afterthought. You have to think about security when you are conceptualizing your system. So let's say you're trying to incorporate AI based module into your existing system. So first review whether that AI module is required or not, then design it in a manner that it covers security practices, controls, and compliance assurance. Test it, ask users and actual stakeholders to test it. Once it is done, then only you should incorporate it, right? That's the practice you should follow when it comes to module 6. It's not that the technology is going to add value all the time. It has to be tested first, right? So every technology has its pros and cons. So but there's a value, like underlying value also. Like AI brings a capability of handling things which human beings cannot do. Then blockchain brings assurance, like nobody can change the transaction once it has been processed. It's like it's a technology that ensures preservation of truth, right? Just imagine in the future if we have systems based on blockchain, so you don't need to audit the transactions because nobody can change the transactions in blockchain based systems. You go and check like blockchain.gov.in. So we already have a blockchain strategy, national blockchain strategy in India for blockchain practices. And there are already 5 areas where government has already implemented blockchain, and there are 5 projects, ongoing projects across various states. Right. So blockchain is an exciting domain and it's going to gain more and more adoption in the time to come. Cloud computing addresses scalability issues. So you have public cloud, private cloud. And if you would have, I think I must highlight this point. I think recently Debajani Ghosh and Satya Nadella had a talk, right? And that was a very interesting talk. I think uh, it was a talk after Satya Nadella visited India and he interacted with Modi ji also. And I really strongly recommend you to follow that talk. They actually talk about the impact of AI and emerging technologies and how India should approach that and what should be our concerns and checks so that we reap the benefits, advantages, not the risks, right? So that's a very interesting talk, and you should understand that uh, your existing practices are okay for your existing challenges. But what about the future? Are we future ready? That's where our emerging technologies comes into picture. AI, blockchain, cloud computing, data analytics. I think our leaders, Dayasar and Arpit also mentioned that data analytics is going to be again exciting practice area for all of you. So we must have that capability of building dashboard, real-time data analytics, right? IoT gives you capability of remote monitoring, right? And then RPA for automation of business processes. I think these are really exciting technologies and can make our organizations future proof, right? But the point is, as a consultant, as an auditor, it's our role to make sure that these technologies cover cybersecurity challenges. And when we are implementing these in our systems, we are addressing the cybersecurity challenges as well, right? So around that you can build your audit programs. Around that you can build your implementation guidelines on how these technologies can be adopted by organizations, making sure that they only add value rather than some impacts because of cyber security breaches. Again, let's quickly take a case study here. Case study is Reliance Jio 5G and IoT rollout. Securing new tech ecosystem. Well, new technologies definitely gives us a lot of scalability and lot of wings to expand our capabilities. But then security cannot be compromised, right? So Geo's national wide 5G IoT deployment required strong security assurance for million of connected endpoints. So emerging tech security measures means now we have to think about technology which is not good enough, security practices which are not good enough for our current system, but the new scalable systems which we are adopting. So AI driven anomaly detection is used for network slicing and 5G cores, means how 5G services are being distributed. So they are being monitored by AI driven anomaly detection, so that if somebody is exploiting them, so that needs to be identified and tracked real time. IoT devices are accessed for firmware integrity, API security, cloud edge communication encryption. So means all your security practices, like the data would be traveling across IoT devices, and whether the data at rest, at movement, and at processing level, at all levels, it should be secure, it should be encrypted. And when it is traveling through APIs, or whether it is in hardware, at all the levels the data should be encrypted and safe. And then blockchain based solution explored for sim provisioning and integrity. Mobile devices are like everywhere. So they actually have an identity module called sim. So if you want to ensure temper proof operations and no duplicacy, so you need blockchain based solution where you can preserve truth and preserve the integrity. So I think that's a very exciting use of blockchain. And finally, security by design. So your design must, it's like, it's not an afterthought. Security should never be an afterthought. You must think of security when you are setting up a system, right? So eventually, secure expansion of 450 million plus users and growing IoT ecosystem. So that's what you can achieve when you have clarity about cyber security assurance in emerging technologies also, like the new initiative that your organization is going to take. So that's all. I think I have covered all the aspects. Now it's a high time I sum up the things, because it should not be like, oh, we listen to something and then, okay, something was exciting, but I don't know what to take away. Well, the takeaway is cybersecurity and the cyberspace are the two critical aspects you need to understand. When you are in real world, yes, you are in real world, you are having physical identity, you are moving across, you're doing so many things, you're meeting people, communicating and all, you take care of your security practices, right? But don't forget that you have a digital identity also. Whenever you are carrying your mobile, you are interacting. Even if you are not carrying your mobile, your digital identity is doing so many transactions, right? So the point is, be very careful about your digital identity. And your digital identity is the identity which lives in cyberspace. So you should be aware of the cyberspace, and you must be aware of the cybersecurity requirements. So takeaways are, never ever use your hardware device softwares in default mode, right? And the cybersecurity awareness can best be addressed by DISA practices, because it covers all stakeholders. And I've already given you the DISA's mapping. DISA can be mapped to all the cybersecurity layers which can be required for any organization. So with this, I think we have come to a point where we have to conclude the session. I hope you would have taken some insights from this discussion, and it would be helpful for you to explore future avenues, opportunities, and perhaps some direction where you can experiment and can explore professional practices. Ankurji, if there is any query, doubt, I can pick up a question.
Right. Thank you, sir. There are some questions we have put it in your chat.
Okay.
So, first question is, what is the current status of cybersecurity awareness?
Okay.
What is the current status of cybersecurity awareness?
Okay. Right.
So
Hi, I'm a
first,
AI
yeah,
assistant helping Arpit Kabra take notes from this meeting.
no, no,
Follow
next,
along
next.
with the transcript. Okay. You can see the screenshot and add highlights. Comment. Okay. If you would like to stop this recording. Okay, fine. So you have mentioned. Okay. Yeah, I got it. I got your
Yeah,
message now. Questions. I'm re-entering CA world after working in ERP. Oh, great. So you already have a very good domain expertise as SAP Finance. Okay, in finance, FICO modules. I am looking for opportunity in CS Fair that could utilize my ERP experiences, process mapping, control. Oh, I think you are a perfect candidate for courses like DISA. If you have already done, that's good. If you haven't done, do DISA. Then after that, I think there is another certification course called AI governance, because AI, ERPs are undergoing transformation. Most of the ERP systems are upgrading themselves to become AI enabled so that they can actually meet the workload requirements and the performance benchmarks. So I think now you can upgrade your skill set from domain expertise to AI assurance capabilities or competencies. So I would recommend you DISA. I would recommend you AI governance certification. I think that is the easiest thing that you can do, and you can add value to the players. Or there are a lot of opportunities because the people who are using ERPs are not clear about the strategy or policy towards AI. And then the next segment of your question is, how can I get the PPT that you have shown from my reference? Okay, you can ping. Okay, you can connect with me on LinkedIn, or maybe you can ping Ankurji, and
yeah,
I'm
we'll
happy
share
to
with all
share.
the participants. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, we will be sharing this content, so no problem with that. Sir, whether this with the DISA, can I conduct cybersecurity assessment or again have or again have other certificate? Yes, I think I mentioned this thing. Once you get DISA, you should approach empanelment with the various agencies like certain maybe RBI, SEBI, and then you'll have a lot of opportunities. Even if you don't have empanelment, you can explore network around you. Security is like everybody needs security. Or your existing clients, why don't you just pitch your existing clients, whether they have ISMS, whether they have endpoint security policy? Simply just ask this question to them and then tell them, okay, if you don't have a, ISMS or information the endpoint security policy, this is the kind of impact your systems can face. Just do a quick review around that and just share that document with your client, and yes, you'll have an opportunity at your end. So it's not that you don't have opportunities. You're all existing players. I have a statement here to make to all my CA friends here. Your old clients are more valuable than potential new clients. All of your existing clients need cyber security assurance. All of your existing clients need best practices to safeguard their systems. Whether they have risk register, whether they have ISMS, whether they have security operations center, considering their requirement. Of course, considering their requirement, whether they have IT asset management, right? Considering their requirement, the level of IT infrastructure they need, the level of cybersecurity they need, you can pitch them. They are already there. You already have the clients for your cybersecurity practices. So I hope I have passed on the message clearly. So you would take a cue from this, and it will help you in your professional practices. Ankurji, any other question or just these three?
Right, these three only, sir. So I think we really had a very good deliberation today, and we would like to thank you, sir, for such an insightful and structured and highly practical session, sir. So
Thank you,
formally,
Ankur.
yeah,
Thank you,
formally,
Ankurji. Thank you, Daya sir, to set the tone. Thank you, our Vice Chairman sir, for setting the tone. And I tried my level best to uh, share my thoughts around how DISA can be seen from a different perspective, right?
right.
The every single module of DISA has relevance and applicability when it comes to cybersecurity assurance.
Yes, indeed, it was a need of an hour because we as an ICI also is moving towards from DISA 3.0 to 4.0.
Yes, yes.
Regulators are talking about cybersecurity, government is talking about cybersecurity. So it was indeed need of an hour. So thank you so much, sir. And formally, on behalf of DAV, it is my privilege to express our deepest gratitude to you, to our chairman and our vice chairman, sir. As rightly mentioned by you, sir, cybersecurity assurance is just not a technical requirement. It is a professional responsibility.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. So today's session has certainly strengthened our understanding of cyber risk and the role of chartered accountants in safeguarding the digital ecosystem. So I
Right.
would also like to thank my DAP secretariat and the technical team for ensuring the smooth organization of this webinar. And thank you, all of you, once again for joining today. I wish you a very wonderful evening, a wonderful weekend. We look forward meeting you again on every alternate Friday with more insightful technology-driven topics. So thank you once again. See you soon.
Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Thank you
Vanessa.
all.
Thank you
Thank you
so
for
much.
your support.